8.1 confidential alleged allegation of breach of code of conduct SJ 2023-1. Council has resolved that council resolves that the alleged breach dated the 15th of March 2023 related to the conduct of Councillor Atwell is substantiated based on the reason that the complaint was properly made and met the relevant elements for determining a breach in accordance with this code, and that the local government, having consulted with the person by providing the opportunity presented in the response form, adopts the following requirements as a plan under Regulation 12 of the Local Government Act Model Code of Conduct, Regulations 2021, and requires the person to whom the complaint relates to commence by the 17th of June 2023, undertake counselling. Motion was carried 6-1. Item 11 is urgent business, of which there is Councillor Mack, that is not a matter for urgent business, so it will not be allowed. Thank you. Item. Thank you, Councillor Coles. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Straughtons. Councillor Coles, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Madam President. We do have urgent business on the agenda for reasons. I don't know why the councillor has put this forward. I certainly would support a motion that he's trying to put forward. We've just spent some half an hour in here in a fairly, I'll be very careful because it's confidential, but a very uncomfortable position. And quite simply, I think a lot of things that have happened since October 2022 have been due to the lack of leadership as shown by the Shire President. I think this is an opportunity for a motion of no confidence to be put forward, and I would ask that my motion under 15.6 is passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coles. All those in favour of the motion before us? 2, 3, 4, 5. All those against? 2. Motion is carried 5-2. Councillor Mack, would you like to put forward your motion?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to put forward for a motion of no confidence against our Shire President.
Thank you, Councillor Mack. Do we have a seconder for the motion?
Can we just get what the exact wording, Councillor Mack, would be, please?
Motion for a vote of no confidence in our Shire President.
Normally, Councillor Mack, our motion to have that council resolve something or council decide something, or but you're happy if you're happy with that wording, that's entirely up to you. I'll leave that with your wording as you wish.
I'll take guidance. We thought it would be more appropriate to have resolves for a no resolves for a resolves a motion for a vote of no confidence.
See the clarify exactly the wording the rest is under that. That resolves the motion for a vote of no confidence in our Shire President. Is that wording we wish to move?
A motion. Let's say a motion of no confidence. Yeah.
that wording.
Thank you, councillor Mack. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, councillor Straughtons.
Can I just ask the consequence of the resolution? Is that, am I able to ask questions?
I can only answer the questions being asked. Consequences of the notice of motion, consequences of the reports, the extra report. There is no provisions in the Lock Up Act or any other legislation for any action to be taken that result in flexibility.
Is anybody opposed to this motion? Councillor Atwell. Councillor Mack, would you like to open debate, please?
Thank you, Madam President. As it was just discussed, we've just been through a confidential agenda item, which I won't obviously go into because I can't. But it was uncomfortable, and I also think it was unnecessary. I will point to the fact that complaints have been made by email to our Shire President, which, as far as by reply to council anyway, went unanswered. And I just feel this could have been handled a lot better. We did not have to get to this point, and we could have actually dealt with this prior to a breach of code of conduct being brought to council. We saw again tonight, just the way that the meetings are conducted, that we've had a member of the public bring forward I think it was a statement whereby they were making allegations that were not known to be substantiated by anybody here. The president had made a ruling to allow that, and I just don't believe that that was appropriate. We continue to see these sorts of things. The president's also spoken to me about an alleged voting block on council, and I just completely refute that. I would suggest that we just have to go back and look through the public records to suggest that there has been voting patterns for many, many years. And perhaps the only thing that has changed here is where the number of votes or the number of successful votes from the president have gone to. And I'd also like to state that it was at the last, I think it was the policy concept forum, whereby a comment was made that can you mute one of the councillors because I'm sick of hearing his voice. We as councillors are here to be heard and representing our community, and I just don't think that was appropriate. I think there are better ways that we could be handling these situations, and I think there are improvements to be made all round. But in terms of our leadership, we could do with some strong leadership to guide us through that. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Mack. Councillor Straughtons, would you like to speak or reserve?
Thank you, Madam President. I've supported this motion because I've put a lot of effort into doing my best to get a working relationship between all councillors. I have tried to avoid things going to complaints by addressing issues as they come up, as they arise, by email, to present the opportunity for these things to be attended to. And I don't see that they have. What I've witnessed is even when I'm giving compliments or to fellow councillors, my words have been misrepresented and I've been accused of being derogatory towards fellow councillors. That's how off track things have gone. And I'm at wit's end. It's what else can one do when you do your darndest to avoid wanting to use the complaints process to try to influence, and all that does is cause your own good words to be misrepresented. It feels like anarchy to me, so that's why I've supported this.
Thank you, councillor Straughtons. Councillor Atwell.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll just start by saying that over the years I've had on council, the current president is by far and away the best president we've had. She's put more time into council than anyone else I've had anything to do with in council. I will also, notwithstanding that what was said before was in private, confidential, but I find this completely and utterly against everything that was said at that time. When you need to unite and go forward, we do not make complaints against everybody and air everything, as the old people used to say, air your dirty washing out in public. I think there are certain councillors here, myself included, I don't walk away from the fact that I've got a big mouth at times, and I will speak from the heart. Whether that offends some people, I know it does, but still, that was the way I was brought up, and I was always told to speak the truth and tell the truth. And such, as I said, the Councillor Rich is by far and away the best president we've ever had. And I am deeply, deeply hurt by the fact that this has now been brought up. And I think that some councillors need to have a bloody good look at themselves.
Thank you, councillor Atwell. Is there any other councillors that'd like to speak for the motion? Thank you, councillor Coles.
Thank you, Madam President. And before I say anything, I will look towards Miss Berry and publicly apologise. That email I referred to, I sent back to myself. So Miss Berry never did receive that email about me offering to show her the diploma or the certificate. So I unreservedly apologise. And I put that on the record. This is being recorded. And I say that because I did the wrong thing. Thing about leadership is self-reflection, understanding where you've done wrong, understanding how you can improve. I don't believe that has happened, certainly since October last year. I'm not going to talk about the machinations that happened during the election and how I was dragged through the mud through my civilian work, as well as other things. Suffice to say, I have reflected upon certain things, and I now have strategies in place which I shared to my councillors when we were behind closed doors. Quite simply, we are all leaders. And we talk about the duty to do the right thing. Well, guess what? Now is the time to do the right thing. The community is starting to suffer for our dysfunction on council. It's quite clear. When you have ratepayers standing up and making accusations against each other, it is not good. How that has happened, why that has happened, I don't know. Except perhaps if things were dealt with at the time, if things were dealt with appropriately by a strong leader, we would not be in this position. We would not have to sit in this place for 40 minutes and, as a councillor has just said, air our dirty laundry and have conversations that we should not be having in this place about behaviours. I know what it's been like here for the last nearly 5 years. And at times I've reflected upon what I've done. And I will never, ever make the same mistakes again. I will make that clear tonight. Perhaps we as councillors, perhaps we as a community should be more focused on making good decisions and doing right thing for the community instead of trying to bring councillors down. There is no point in people standing up here making issues of councillors, and it is poignant who I'm looking at in the audience. We are here to represent the community. I have only ever tried to be here to represent the community to my best of abilities. If people don't like me, that's their right. If people have an alliance with someone else who doesn't vote the same way as me, and I completely refute the idea of a voting block, and is on the record that there was a voting block when Mr. Singh was here as a councillor, that is unequivocal. It's interesting when things don't go people's way that things start falling apart. I've reflected long and hard on my time in this place, and I have seen it's been like a roller coaster. We are at the bottom of that roller coaster. You can talk about leadership, you can talk about team building, the norming, forming, storming, and performing. We have never, ever got to that stage of performing. And I believe the key part of that is relationships. We try and do things as a team, but then maybe we're not a team because we're meant to be different. We're meant to have different ideas. But we need leadership. We need a strong leader who understands each person around the table and will bring the best out of them. It's really interesting that Mr. Latner made a deputation tonight, and he was reading it out. It really resonated with me. And that was how people can dream themselves to be a better world. And he talks about we use the skills, care, love, and knowledge to bring others up with them to help realise it. Actions and achievements of the individual are nothing without the context of their community or the context of their community. We are nothing as individuals. We are only something as a team. Every team needs a strong leader. And I'm sorry to say it, this council has not had a strong leadership, certainly since October last year. I don't know what the council was like from July to October when I wasn't here, but categorically I can state there was no leadership in this place from October to now. For a councillor who is away to be almost harassed about why that councillor is away, I need to know whether you're away with your police work, with your army work, or you're on holidays. There is nothing in the legislation that says if you're more than 150 kilometres from your normal place within the state of Western Australia, you have to give the presiding member or the councillors a reason. It is no one's business where I was or what I was doing. And again, this is an example of poor leadership and someone who's trying to get points against someone. There is no need for it. Perhaps if we stopped looking at each other and trying to undermine each other, we would be a better team and we would have better leadership for this community, because that's what the community needs. And I'm sick and tired of sitting here, not being listened to, being ostracised and not being answered. I have sent emails to the Shire President asking for an apology. I've sent an email to the Shire President about why she excluded Councillor Mack and myself from her President's report in October last year. Normally, and since I've been here, every time there's been an election, the Shire President will congratulate the new councillors. I've sent that email to her 3 times. First time, I think, was in October last year. And I have checked Miss Berry. I definitely did send it to her. I didn't send it to myself. No response. Accusations about councillors not getting along and having a review of policies about communication. I asked the Shire President to give some examples. I'd really be keen to find out when we do that. No response. So what can you do as a councillor when you get no leadership, when you get no response? I'll tell you what you can do. I'm going to run for president come October, because I will not stay in this place any longer with no leadership. So I can sit here and people can laugh at me, but guess what? I'm putting on the record the courage of my conviction that I think I can do a better job, because my leadership has been proven. And I'll be in this place to be the leader to bring us forward to greatness. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coles. Is there anybody else that would like to speak against the motion?
I will, Madam President, I'm really torn on this resolution because I think, you do have many strengths, and I think you're, extremely passionate and you do work incredibly hard. But, I've also said to you directly, I think there are many concerns in the way you do things. I think, just because we might disagree on things or we vote against, it's not a personal attack on you. So, I struggle with this, and I suppose my greatest concern is that, I think, as Councillor Atwell said, we were trying to move forward to work constructively. I'm just not sure, perhaps, on the timeliness of the resolution is, sort of where I'm at on it. So I'm just a little struggling a little bit with it all. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor D'Agostino. Is there any other councillor who would like to speak for the motion? I'll speak for it. There's a lot of talk about strong leadership about what the leader should do. We are a group of 9 adults. As the Shire President, as the presiding member of the OCMs that we have, I am continuously spoken over the top of by certain councillors, even when they are asked to please stop speaking. We can talk about leadership as much as we want. We have a set of rules and regulations that are dictated by the state government of how we are to operate. And yes, inside those regulations, there is some leeway that we are meant to follow as adults. With 9 different personalities around the table, it is not an easy job. But I will stand by my leadership that I have given to this place, to this community, for the last 5.5 years. And I think my leadership speaks volumes with what we have been able to achieve for our community, for what we have brought into our community through our advocacy work, for the position that our local government sits in, with respect from other local governments for the way we have led and the way we have moved forward, and the respect that is showing to our Shire that was not there previously to my leadership. Councillors can sit here and they can talk about the lack of leadership, and really what does it mean? As councillors, you are all in a position of responsibility to lead. It doesn't fall to one of us to lead. I've sat through workshops where we've had a councillor who was electronically attending, who was on a boat, didn't prioritise the Shire or the community over what they were doing. That is not why it is in the regulations to be able to attend meetings electronically. When we are elected to the positions that we hold, we are elected to carry out the duties that come with that responsibility, not to actually treat them as a joke. We do not all have the same opinions. We all do not agree, and nor should we. The reason that we are here and the reason we have 9 individuals is so that we can have good discussion and debate and find the best way forward and the best outcomes for our community. It has been stated very openly by councillors of the ones that support me as Shire President and the ones that don't. It shows very clearly over the last 6 months, those that don't. Councillor Coles, if you would like to stand for Shire President come October, I wish you all the best. I think it is everybody's right to be able to do what they feel is necessary and the right thing by them. Every councillor around this table needs to have a good hard look at what they do, how they do it, and the way that they behave, not only here in front of the community, but behind closed doors, the way that they speak to one another, the way they speak to the community that they represent, and the way that they make decisions that are meant to be based on what is best for the community, not based on what they think is best for them personally. out of all the conversations and all that was said tonight during a confidential item, you have totally lost the lot. What you stated means absolutely nothing. Our community, in the eyes of what some of you have stated here this evening, means nothing. The undermining of our council, of our Shire officers, of our community in the last 6 months has been disappointing. But it does nothing to diminish the strong leadership that I have shown in 5.5 years in this place, and what, as a council, as a Shire and a community, that we have achieved. We have put a lot of strategies in place. We are moving forward for financial sustainability for this area. In 5.5 years, we have brought in over $1.15 billion worth of funding to fund infrastructure in this community that is badly needed. There is not many shires, cities, towns, local governments anywhere in WA that don't have the backing of the mining industry that can say the same. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Mack, would you like to close?
Thank you, Madam President, and a couple of points that I would like to pick up on then from the debate. And firstly, it was about, that our community, I think you made some points about community, what we've been talking about, community means nothing. Well, I'd like to say that for me, and the reason I bring this forward is community means everything to me. I want to stand for what I believe is right, and I want to make a stand for what I think needs to change. We recently had a community survey that gave us the second lowest local government LGA satisfaction levels across those that were on there. I don't think that says that our community was satisfied with what we've been doing. You mentioned that as president, you didn't like being spoken over the top of, and I completely get that. But we had an incident recently where you called out a councillor for speaking over the top and said that you'd had enough of it. And it was for an alternate motion being put forward. What I thought was ironic about that was that the councillor who was trying to put it forward, you had a debate with at the time, the very meeting before that, I had put forward a pre-emailed alternate motion. And before we could put through our pre-emailed alternate motion, you put through a motion before putting it to the floor. The very next council meeting, a councillor wanted to put forward an alternate motion and you stopped them from interrupting. We just need some consistency for all councillors. It should be a level playing field. Every councillor should have their right to have a say, and we just should not continually be debating based on personalities around this table. We need some good governance to actually work together to get some good outcomes for our community. You mentioned about what does it mean? What does it mean to people around this table? I think it means a lot. It means a lot for us to all be able to have our say to represent our community. And since I have been on this council, I just do not feel I've ever been accepted. I do not feel like I've ever been guided. I do not ever feel like I've had the support of our Shire president. In fact, to have allegations thrown at me constantly of having an ulterior motive, which I called out in an email as well and asked our Shire president to clarify. And as yet, I've had no response to. I think I've said enough and I'll put it to a vote.
Thank you, councillor Mack. All those in favour of the motion before us? All those against? Motion is carried 5-2. Can we please have the votes recorded, minutes secretary? Item number 12 is councillors' questions, of which notice has been given, which is nil. Item 12 is closure, and I declare this meeting closed at 10:50 p.m. Thank you very much, everybody, for your attendance. Please have a safe trip home.